Hey, welcome to the podcast. Today, we have co-founders, me and Seth, and also the hottest guy we've ever had on the podcast. This is my husband. It's Josh. And so today's topic I wanted to get into. I'm really excited about this one. We've talked about this so many hours in person that if we don't get it out on a podcast soon, I'm going to run out of content to talk about, is why the heck do books not have ratings that are consistent across the board? And when I say ratings, just to clarify, I'm talking about ratings for content. So the level of profanity or violence, etc. ad nauseum, all of the things that might include on a list. So we got them for movies. We do not have them for books. And I think that is a crying shame. So, Josh, do you have any opening thoughts as we get started?
Well, my first thought would be that I think it might be rooted in the fact that movies, graphic in nature, you need to shield children from experiencing certain things at a young age. Sure. So it's technically like a prohibitive thing, right? If you're under 18, you can't legally see a rated R movie without a parent or guardian. And
under 17. Technically, you can be 17.
17.
Which is such a weird, it's the only really 17 weird thing.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because then even NC-17 is also no clearance 17. So
Rated R is 17, and then underneath 17, you have to have a parent or guardian. And C-17 is no one under 17 can be in, and you have to have a parent or guardian if you're 17.
The theaters don't show NC-17 movies, but it's still, like, what's on
NC-17
can show penetration, so it can literally be pornography. And 17
I'm
can
sorry,
go
you're
see
not
it.
allowed to say the word penetration. I'm just joking. You
I thought you were going to say
can.
pornography. I was like, yeah, really not.
No, but all of that to tie into the fact that you get on the edge of like, are we banning certain people from reading books? And that's like, obviously like a subject that you don't want to get into, where you tell people, hey, you can't read this book because of the content.
Banned books are one of those topics that, like, when someone brings it up, I just roll my eyes because I don't think that it means the thing that it actually means. Like, when people say that, that's not what they mean. They mean like banned books are like, oh, little children can't read this pornographic sex scene. How awful, we're banning a book. It's like, no, you can still go to Barnes and Noble. This isn't communist Russia. Like, it's just a book that is not appropriate for everyone. So, okay, you have a lot of opinions about this. So what do you think are the types of content that should be disclaimed in some similar way that like the MPAA does for films?
So I was actually thinking about this earlier today because a lot of times, like, a parent will say, hey, Seth, is that movie appropriate for my, like, 7-year-old child?
Sure.
And in my head, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that going in, so I was not paying attention to that, and I won't remember. But if you ask me beforehand, but then IMDb has the parental guidance thing at the bottom where you can literally click on sex and nudity or violence and gore, and people will tell you exactly, and you can click the spoiler tag thing.
I use it all the time. It's
like,
great.
It's great.
Yeah. Common Sense Media does it. There's like actually extra places where you can find that stuff just because parents want the information so much.
Yeah. And books don't have that anywhere. And I think the, like, what we're going to be looking at is a little slightly different. I think it's going to be the same topics, but with different
severities.
Maybe. Yeah. Because if I'm thinking about gore, that's way more significant in a movie to me.
Sure.
Like, to see people being like blood and guts everywhere. To read it is like, you can just go past it and be fine.
Versus there are books that use a lot of body horror like explanations that maybe would be something I would like disclaimed. But if I read someone on page getting shot in the face and like hear the description, it's not going to feel as graphic as like seeing it in a film.
But then I think sex is the opposite because you're experiencing it with the character in the book. I think it's even more severe in some ways. Maybe not in the actual visual seeing nudity, but But if we're separating sex and nudity as two separate things, I'd say sex is actually more severe in books, especially when we get into the smut and what just that whole genre and how it's blown up the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. You had a friend the other day that was talking about this, and she said her friends were like, oh, it's not that bad. It's just 6%, I think is what they said, of the book.
These
and
were Christian
I was like,
bookstagrammers.
Wait a second, 6%? of just 100 pages, right, is 6 pages.
6
so if
pages.
you have a normal 500-page book, then it's like, oh my gosh, you have 30 pages of smut.
Yeah. And the percentage was what they were trying to use to justify it. These were people that like actually like advertise on their Instagram and TikTok and stuff that they talk about closed door books and they don't talk about open door scenes and they read stuff that's like not inappropriate and they don't read smut and all this stuff. But for some reason, they make this exception for this one author, for this one series. And so we did the math. And so I was texting my friend. The friend has a child, so like has a kid in middle school, I think. And I was talking about it in that context. And I was like, okay, say you go to a movie that's 150 minutes. That's 9 minutes of graphic sex on screen. Are you okay with that? Like, do you want to sit and watch a 9-minute scene? It's not like it's unfathomable. But I think to your point, I don't know that every person would agree that like sex on page is like more intense in a lot of ways than on the screen. I do think that women are probably more like affected, I guess is the right word to say, by sexual content on page, because while we may not be as visual, a lot of like the smut that is in like what is popular right now is written to be very erotic, and it triggers the same things as I think that men, not that women obviously don't have like a porn addiction or watch pornography, but like I think it triggers those same parts of our brain that men find triggered when they watch something on the screen.
For men in love, it's a physical thing that is that connection. And for women, it's emotional first.
Yeah. Okay, so if that's one of the problems, you said smut has become popular. Whatever do you mean, Seth?
Why don't we just take a scroll through TikTok real quick?
Oh gosh. And like, let's be honest. Do you think part of it is people don't want other people to know what's in the books they're reading? Like, except for their gal pals?
Yes. I think that's a huge part of it.
So it's thriving in darkness. So like, why not have because we're not for a rating system that like stops people from reading books.
No.
We're just for a rating system that like clearly explains, like IMDb, what's in this thing.
Yeah.
Because if you don't care about it, you can go watch it.
Yeah.
But then the people that do can go see what is in this so they can control the content that they take in. Because honestly, on that same point, I know a lot of women who specifically read romances that are clean, and that's what they want.
Yeah.
And every now and then, one still sneaks in there.
Yeah.
Because you can't tell what it is by just looking at the cover.
True, they all look the same. Let's be honest.
True. When I was talking to Rachel about this recently, one of the things that we discussed was like, where they put the smut in a lot of these books too, because I think this goes to your point of like, if I don't know what's in it, I'm less likely to say no to it, even if it has something I would find objectionable. But so ACOTAR, I'm sorry. If you love ACOTAR, please love ACOTAR. It is a free country. If you are also a Christian, I would encourage you to talk about that with Jesus, but that's a completely other discussion. But that's a great example because the first book doesn't have a lot of sexual content until the end of the book. And in the series, the amount of sexual content, if I'm remembering what she said correctly, because I've read the first book and I got a little into the second book and I was like, I can't. And even that, which is considered not a lot of smut, like bothered me a lot. But it ramps up in like the fourth book or the fifth book or something like that, where it becomes like constant, graphic, all this stuff. And I think that part of why an author or a publisher may not want you to know what's in it, if you would object to it, is because once you're hooked, you find an excuse to stick it out. And so like, I got to the end of the first book and I was like, oh, lots of weird things are happening. It's a really good story. I'm just going to try to push through because you feel like committed to the characters and all that stuff. And all it does for you.
And maybe this is the only scene like this.
Yeah. It's like, you just never know. And all it does for you is the opposite of what you're trying to accomplish, which is like reading something that can grow you as a person. But were you the one that shared the other day the post from that one girl that was actively advertising her self-published book that was like, it was almost like pornographic, just the end papers.
Yeah, because she showed the images and it was like spitting in each other's mouths. And
oh my God.
It was really intense.
It was like, it was bad.
And all the comments were like, OMG, I need it now.
Yeah, and I think this kind of thing is it's pervasive and it's like, it's encouraged. And so, of course, people don't want to put ratings in their books. Now, I will say, I'll give some credit. I read the Assistant to the Villain series. Not something either of you would be interested in. I almost never read romance, but this one was comedic and I thought it was really fun. So I started reading that one and I finished the third one, and Hannah Nicole Marer puts like content warnings in the front of the book. And in the third book, she says, Accomplice to the Villain is a laugh out loud fantasy romance with severed limbs thrown off the balcony for fun and office pixies poisoning the cauldron brew. In addition, the story includes elements that might not be suitable for all readers. Blood, death, battle, serious injury, extreme pain, torture, familial estrangement, graphic language, sexual situations, child abuse, and imprisonment of an animal are shown on the page. Readers who may be sensitive to these elements, please take note. Now, does that actually describe the scene that occurred in what I would say is enough detail? Probably not, if it was up to me. But I respect her a lot for at least like doing that, or her publisher, whoever decided. I respect a lot the effort to at least do it in that way, because, you know, I read the book and it is, I think it's one, it's hard. I hate, because I don't read romance. I don't know all of the little things that people say, but it's like closed door, open door, but there's like sort of closed door. And then there's like open door graphic. Like there's all these other little things. It wasn't, in my estimation, a particularly long or hyper graphic scene in a way that I felt like I needed to put the book down. But at the same time, if I knew the first book had a sex scene in it, I probably wouldn't have picked it up. Like, and so now I want to read the fourth book, and hopefully it doesn't get more like that. But again, when the objectionable thing is hidden and then you get connected to the characters and connected to the story, it's way harder to pass off.
Yeah, so they're trying to trick you.
Lure you That's in. How I want to read a book. Yeah. I started doing reviews on TikTok and including, this is another big hot topic, I started including a flag for LGBTQIA representation. I tried to say it in the most neutral way possible. Yeah. I think that this is America. If you want to live that lifestyle, you should be absolutely free to do so, just as much as I can follow Christianity and all of those things. Like, I think that you should have the freedom to be who you are and not be, you know, persecuted for it. But on a little spot on my review, I just made a comment, like there's a little like disclaimer at the bottom that says, I rarely read books with major LGBT representation. That was it. I didn't make any other value statements. I just said that I rarely do. Oh my gosh, the comments on TikTok. And you know what's funny? I took that thing out and then people started seeing my reviews and they were like, oh, this is so great. And they loved it because guess what? They wanted to read books where people like them were represented, and they should have the ability to do that if they want to. But like, it's so interesting because the second you make it seem like, oh, I'm putting this here so that if people want to avoid it, they can, all hell breaks loose. People do not like it. They do not like it at all.
We also have the, like you said, the opposite end of that spectrum where they want to know that they are represented and they want to read books like that. But then there are books where the LGBTQIA2 whatever plus community is in there, but they're not represented well.
They're not
represented in the way they want to be represented.
I'm so sorry. I have to say this. I'm really sorry, but I heard someone call them the Wi-Fi password community the other day, and I can't stop thinking about it.
I like that one. I like the alphabet soup people.
Yes. And it's not trying to be derogatory necessarily, but it is like...
It changes.
It changes constantly. Anyway, continue. But I agree with you.
Yeah. So like I've read books where someone was homosexual, but like it was because they were raped when they were a child. And it's like, you are represented. I don't think you're going to like the way you look in this one.
Yeah.
So in that case, like there should still be a content warning for children, for young adults to be like, hey, there is, you know, an alternative lifestyle in this book. To put it kindly.
Well, there are plenty of parents out there who have children who are voracious readers.
Yeah.
And they can't keep up. Otherwise, you would only read children's books ahead of your kid, and you yourself would never read a book. Like, it just makes sense to have a little flag. Hey, we're not making a judgment, like you said, about any values or the way you choose to portray anything. We just think that you should know that this is in this book if there's someone in your life that would be sensitive to. I mean, they're all about trigger warnings anyway.
Okay, so I have this question. Are content warnings just like in this respect? So to say what has sexual content or language or LGBT content or like strong politically like pushy content, especially something that I don't want to read, whatever. Is that just a conservative way of saying trigger warnings? Because conservatives make fun of that term a lot. And there are things that I hate as trigger warnings, but like, how is it different?
Yeah, I feel like it's different because you could also say late stage capitalism. You could put a warning for whichever like side of the aisle. Like they can all be neutral. Like we're not judging your values. We are just saying this content is in this book because let's be honest, people are very open on the internet about what content triggers them. Yeah. So anything can fall into that if you just have like, a grid. Like, hey, this book fills in these parts of the grid. Yeah. And if you're okay with that, that's fine.
I think a trigger warning makes me think of a flashing lights warning for someone with epilepsy, where you're like, oh, this thing is going to have like molestation in it. And like, oh, you were molested as a kid. That might trigger some kind of like mental, going downhill. Whereas content warning is just like, you don't like this thing. Yeah. Maybe, like if you don't like this thing, it's in here. You can read it if you want. Like it seems way less reactive, more proactive.
I don't necessarily want every single book to start with a huge page of trigger warnings and content warnings. I will say I'm developing...
No, for sure.
I'm developing an app to like put a lot of this stuff together in a reader app that most, like especially the things that aren't covered by any of the big ones. And one of the things that I'm trying to figure out is how many of the things that are trigger warnings do I want to include? Because like, honestly, there are a lot of trigger warnings for things like fat phobia. And I'm like, I don't think you need to know before you start reading a book if someone is rude to a person who's heavier in that book. As a hefty person, I just don't think that it's relevant. I do think that like trigger warnings for things like the death of a child or like animal harm and stuff like that. Like I can see where that is more relevant. So I'm trying to like parse through all of that because I don't want it to feel politically charged. Even adding something like late stage capitalism, what I would say is late stage capitalism isn't what someone who would consider themselves a leftist would say is that. And so it's like, how do you rate it even?
For sure. And part of why I think a rating or content like warnings isn't even the right word.
I'm calling them content details.
Content details, I think, is really smart because sometimes I'm just not in the mood to read a dark book. Yeah. For instance, the one we talked about the other day, The Road.
By Cormac McCarthy.
Cormac McCarthy. I have tried to start this so many times, and I don't know why, but every time I'm in a part of my life where I'm like, this is too dark. I can't handle this right now. Yeah. And it's like this boy and this dad, like, I'll come back to this. And so it's like, it's okay to know what's in a book just for like, am I in the mood to read this right now?
Yeah.
And I don't want to go down the slippery road where everything, like with the book I just finished writing, I had to like go through it. Or no, it was a short story I put into a short story contest. And I was like, I have to put trigger warnings. Like, I don't know. Yeah. like of real things. But you guys live in a made up world and I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that is part of it is like, I think when I get into this, my initial perspective is if a parent was trying to decide if this book is appropriate for their kid, and when I say their kid, I might mean a teenager who's 16 or 17. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing for parents to monitor, at least to some degree, what their kids read at that age. Like, if I'm putting content in it for a parent to review how they feel about it, how would I put all of that stuff in? That's not the only way I look at it, though, because adults... Like, I want to, like, use wisdom in my own life, and there are certain things I don't want to read about. Like, there's certain things from my own life that were issues I had at one point that I'm like, I don't read books that speak positively about that thing just because I don't, like, it reminds me of a part of my life I wasn't a big fan of. So I like knowing that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I'm trying to figure out where the line is because I think there are warnings and details, and those things get mushed and lumped together. And depending on how you frame it, people get pissed off or they really appreciate it. And it's like, it's very hard to tell the difference.
And times have changed. When I was in high school, the biggest young adult book was The Hunger Games. So like, we had the brutal reality of a revolution. But, and like, that's content you should know. It's like, it's going to get a little dark, but it's not like what YA books are coming out now with like threesome rapes,
Oh
right?
my
Like
gosh.
that's a YA book coming out now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so it's different.
age appropriateness is, the lines are very blurred right now in our society with, them allowing trans people into read to kids and stuff like that, or even just cross dressers. It's, as a society right now, our moral lines are very blurred.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think we're seeing a pullback to where people are going, no, we want to return to like the values that our country was founded on and stuff like that. But so I guess I wonder what categories have you pretty much settled on for your rating system?
So I've gone through this a lot. I have 11, and then I have a spot on the app that's like a 12th for basically users being able to add their own things that stuck out to them. So here's how I broke it down. And these are content details. Not all of them have none of them have any sort of value judgment.
Yeah, content information.
Yeah, sexual content. And these are all like a 4 it can be 0 to 4.
There's a scale.
There's a scale. And then there's a very brief description. So sexual content, violence and gore, profanity, substance use, because that one comes up a lot in children's reviews, and I'm sure would be affected.
You want to have a conversation with a kid.
Right. Or someone who's like been through alcoholism or something would want to know.
Yeah.
LGBTQ plus representation, religious content, because I want to know. I think some people would want to know if they're reading a book that heavily features positive themes of Christianity. I would also know if I was reading a book that was like heavily featuring themes of Islam or Buddhism. I would like to know that going in. Witchcraft and the occult. That's something a lot of Christians don't want to read. So I was like, okay, if you don't want your kids exposed to that, if you don't want to read it, whatever.
Makes sense.
Political content. And so in the description, we try to talk about, I try to summarize what's in there. And so I'm looking at, this is one of my, template pages for Beloved, which I believe is a book by Toni Morrison, and it's about, the ills of slavery. And so it has heavy political content, but it's about the dehumanization, racial trauma, and what does it say? The deep exploration of slavery's legacy. So it's talking about themes and in a story set a very long time ago. I would also want to know in that is if a book explores current themes of XYZ political, because saying something is political doesn't necessarily mean it has to be contemporarily political or just more political on a broad
or even
spectrum.
Biased. Yeah. It just, it could be a book that happens to have politics. It could be about a politician, like an autobiography.
Sure.
And it's but I'm kind of getting into that on purpose, so I don't really need warned.
So self-harm and suicide, sexual assault, abuse and suffering, and then the user added category. So abuse and suffering is one I've gone through a lot. And so that one is child abuse, domestic violence, animal abuse, even heavy
ones.
workplace abuse, any of that kind of stuff would fit into that category. And so Beloved is rated as a 4 out of 4. Infanticide is central to the plot. Children suffer under slavery. That's what it pulled. And there were, I think this one is also from, I used to have it was child harm. And then I kind of combined it into an abuse and suffering category. And so that would also speak to the tone. Is it really dark? If that's a huge central theme. So, that's what I've landed on so far. I don't know if
I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty encompassing.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody has an idea for any other things, let us know down in the comments for sure. Hit us up on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm trying to find things that any reasonable adult would like to be aware of before they pick up a book. At least this is the kind of app that I want, because I feel every time I look at the apps so far, it's look at this super, super smutty thing. Isn't it great? Shouldn't you read it? And I'm actually, I just really like the fact that I can know that it's really, really smutty so that I don't have to read it. Because that's personally what I prefer. I do have a thought. You said something earlier about age appropriateness. I wonder if one of the reasons a book rating system hasn't become universally available is because people are offended by the idea that some books are not appropriate for some ages of children and young people. Mm-hmm. I know we have teen, young adult, middle grade.
With movie ratings all the time.
Yeah, because they are kind of based on how old the children are that may, see it or whatever. But maybe part of the problem is you think of a book rating system and you're like, okay, well, what's okay for a 13-year-old, but not okay for a 12-year-old? Maybe
sticking
that's
the age on the ratings.
It's hard.
Instead, we should just explain what each rating will mean, and then that parent can decide which one is right for their kid and when they can move up to the next one.
And it also doesn't have to be, I don't know how to say this in a nice way, but like, it doesn't have to be degrading to adults who are like, okay, well, yeah, maybe this is PG-13, but it has some closed-door sexual content in it, and I want to avoid that as an adult, and I don't have to think that you're infantilizing me by saying, like, oh, are you like a 12-year-old?
No. These days, there's a lot of YA that I would not read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's even with movies, there are PG-13 movies that are way beyond me, and
same.
there are rated R movies that I watched, and I'm like, that was nothing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like there's a huge difference in me for movies if it's war violence versus like immediate violence.
Yeah.
Like there's a huge
different
difference.
people, different lived experiences, like different personality bends towards different content.
Yeah.
There's no shame in what you like and what bothers you or what doesn't bother you. It's really up to your personality, and it's your free choice, which is in the end what we stand for.
Yeah. Okay. I think one of the arguments I've heard from people in the past about like labeling too much in books, we can talk about spoilers. I feel like that's not as important to me. Like, but what does it mean in terms of reading something that might make you uncomfortable? Because I think a lot of people might hear this and go, oh, you're just afraid to read things that challenge you. And I think it's hard because like, I don't want to be rude or like inconsiderate, but it's not things that challenge me that I'm worried about so much as things that I find like morally problematic or reprehensible in some cases, or just like things I don't want to be exposed to on a regular basis. For instance, I could literally care less about the amount of profanity in a book. It just isn't something that bothers me.
Yeah.
I don't like go around cussing a bunch, whatever. My dad is so sensitive to it. And so I got my mom to read Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Way.
Yeah, I got my mom. She loves Carl. My dad is like, I like it, but I can't listen to it for very long because he says the F word all the time. Like profanity really bothers him. And so to me, it's not so much like something that will challenge you. But when you look at like the list I just gave, some of those things I think could be things that you just avoid anything that might be different than the way you believe or different than what you think. So is that a problem?
Well, I think for some people, it is a fair criticism that they don't challenge their worldviews enough, or they maybe shield their kids too much. Fair. I am a believer, and I was raised this way, that like we didn't shy away from hard subjects. True. Like I knew about politics coming up at the time when I was middle school and a teenager. My parents started including me in some of the conversations that other adults in them were having. Yeah. And so I knew about the controversial politics of the time. But like it should be up to each parent when to broach each subject with their children, because kids are growing up way too fast these days. Oh. And so we do need to be challenging ourselves, but if you are a person that has challenged yourself and you've thought through what you believe, why you believe it, and you're open to criticism, it's okay to avoid certain subjects. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Also, don't think the place to challenge myself on my political and moral beliefs is fiction.
I know what you mean.
Why would that not be a conversation I have with someone that believes differently?
That's actually a hot take. Like I've heard flip it. I have heard a lot of people say that though, that like the first and best way for their beliefs to be challenged was like through the fiction maybe that they read like in high school or whatever. And I disagree with that. See, I read fiction as entertainment, and I don't necessarily think entertainment needs to challenge my belief system as much as it needs to entertain me.
Entertainment doesn't have to be challenging. I love to be stretched and challenged in certain ways. Yeah. There's an appropriate way. For instance, George Orwell, Animal Farm, fiction that stretches people.
Yeah. Sure.
Love books like that. But what I don't love is when I know I vehemently disagree with something and you say, no, I'm going to stretch and I'm going to shove this down your throat.
Yeah. That's the problem, is when I'm reading something that's supposed to challenge me, my view is a straw man argument within that. And it's not like they're not actually arguing
Very true.
real arguments. They are just putting themselves on a soapbox and making some caricature of what I believe.
Yeah.
And that doesn't challenge me.
And and
doesn't mean that the writer's a coward.
That people out there that love these books and really identify with what they would call stretching for society, like, I'm okay with you loving that book. Publish it everywhere. Put it in every bookstore. I don't care. Just don't make me have to like it. Like, you shouldn't need my approval. Like, you don't need everyone's approval in society to be a success and to be a good person.
The reality is, if I'm willing to call a spade, the people that are most likely to look at me and say, oh, well, you don't read anything that challenges you, would be someone that would probably tell me that I need to read like White Fragility to challenge myself.
That's the exact book that I've been told to read.
So are you going to read... I have a Charlie Kirk book here on my shelf that I want to read this year. I've never read a lot of nonfiction. I'd like to try it out. Ben Shapiro has a book on my shelf. You want to read that?
Go buy that new Melania book.
Are you going to challenge yourself on the other direction? It's like, that's one of the problems with this is like a lot of tenets of liberalism say like, you must believe this one thing. Like, well, not true liberalism, but like modern day leftism. You have to believe this one thing. This is the only way to believe and be a good person. If you don't believe this, you are a bad person. And most people that are more moderate or conservative would actually look at that and go, actually, there's lots of different ways to believe. There's lots of ways to be a decent person. Yeah. There are definitely universal truths. I shouldn't take a knife and stick it in your throat. Like that is something I think we can all agree would be a bad thing. But even like there's a degree of some of that on the left that people would actually not have a problem with that. Knowing what you believe politically, like they would think that you literally deserved it. And we found, I think this is why the Kirk thing, just on a tangent, created so much stir within the conservative movement, because all of a sudden it was like, oh no, like there's a lot of people that are like, actually fine if I die. Like if I am not just if I die, if I am brutally murdered in front of an audience of people because of some of the things that I believe that I think are actually more honoring to human beings. Anyway, that kind of gets off into a tangent.
Hold up, let me ride off that tangent for
Please,
a second.
go for it.
We can cut all this if it gets too political, but we've all seen that a graph where it shows that there's way more
diversity of
thought on the right. And so if I want to challenge myself, I don't even have to go to the left. I can read Ben Shapiro and challenge a lot of my views.
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk, not as much, but there are a lot of people, there are a lot of right-wing analysts that I disagree with 80% of the time.
Yeah. Ren walked in the door a few weeks ago and saw me watching, I think it was like, I just clicked on a Michael Knowles video and he was like, why are you listening to that guy? And it's like, I know Ren and I have a lot of political opinions in common, but he was willing and ready to just have maybe that's why people on the, I don't know, this is just a theory. Maybe that is why people on the left might be a little more ready to say, oh, you have to challenge yourself by the fiction, specifically the books you read by the fiction, because they don't challenge each other in person.
Because they all just log on the internet to find out what they believe today.
You surround yourself by people that believe like you, and then it's impossible to do that if the people that believe like you don't have very much diversity in their actual thought processes and belief systems.
I agree.
Who cares?
You can decide when you edit if all that is worth it.
Yeah, I don't know. People are already going to hate me anyway. So I've discovered I'm on Twitter. Somebody was yelling at somebody was rude to my mom today on Twitter. And
would you?
I don't handle that.
Stop defending your family online, please.
No, frick those people.
Does this happen a lot?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
My mom says things that she thinks people will know are hyperbole. Okay, I'm just going to tell you because it was funny. Someone posted and said, would you ever let your child miss a day of school for being emotionally drained or something like that? That was the content of the post. Which the funny thing is, we did actually let our kids skip school a couple of times because of major emotional things that were happening.
You had foster kids.
Yeah.
that was kind of my caveat.
They literally
it's like
couldn't go into public in that moment.
Yes, I had kids that like had gone through the kinds of trauma,
emotional problems.
Right.
We got 3 people raised
So
by pretty loving people.
Yes.
Yeah.
My mom from our Book is Better podcast account posted and said, she's doing this on the Book is Better. I'm like, what
That's
are you?
the problem.
She posts and she said, all I know is I told my kids if they didn't show up to work or school the day after Donald Trump got elected because they had to be at home crying, that I was going to go home and grab them by the hair and take them where they needed to be. Which is obviously hyperbole. We were adults. She wasn't going to actually do that. But the point was she had raised us to know that would be an unreasonable response to like the person we like not being elected. Oh my gosh, people thought she was serious. And they're like, your kids are lying to you. Your kids hate you. They're going to put you in a nursing home. And I was like, I'm sorry. No.
Now wait.
I'm a kid. I'm your kid. Let me tell you.
You can love your parents and still put them in a nursing home.
We should probably talk about that off the
Hot take.
podcast.
It'll be a very nice nursing
I work in an
home.
assisted living home. A few of them are loved by their kids.
Okay, well, that's good to know. My mom preferably will never have to go in a nursing home, but we'll see. Okay, so let's get on the slightly lighter context. Do content details or content warnings or however you want to, like content ratings in that way, do they spoil the book?
They can. If it's like, if the twist at the end is that someone's becomes a witch, and the whole time you're like, why does this have a 4 on a cult? Like it can spoil it, and that. But I don't think that's going to be very common.
Fair.
I think knowing a theme isn't typically a spoiler. Like the person that would think a theme is a spoiler would think that trailers are spoilers.
There are people like that.
Trailers are spoilers.
I would agree. Hold on. There are some trailers that show way too much.
About 95% of trailers the last 15 years have been spoilers.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, let's make a quick teaser review of the themes of the book.
Yeah.
Not detailed trailers going in and showing that Rocky is in
Project Hail Mary. Oh my gosh. Okay. Project Hail Mary is the perfect example of a spoilery thing that's like in the trailer, because that concept is hilarious, but it's true in the last 15 years. So my mom and I had already read the book. My dad was familiar with what happened because he heard my mom listening to it, but my brother had never read the book, and I didn't know that. Okay. I thought all of us had read it. I thought all of us were on the same page because they know how much I loved this book. So then they announced there's going to be a movie. We put it on the podcast schedule. We're super pumped. And we record a live react when we're all in the same room to the very first trailer.
Perfect.
So in the middle of the trailer, I said, I thought there was and my brother's like, you thought there was an alien? And I was like, well, yeah, I thought it got spoiled in the trailer. Like I saw that. And he goes, spoilers. And then I realized he's never read the book. He didn't know that there was an alien in the story at all. And so I do think there has to be, first of all, it was a hilarious experience because I felt bad, but I was like, this is your fault. You knew how much I like this book. You should have just gotten on your game and just read it. But in reality, there is going to be some spoiler content if you read content warnings.
Yeah.
What's the line? Like what's worth it and what's not worth it?
I think you need to make that decision for yourself. Like, am I willing to risk spoilers to make sure I don't read something that's going to upset me?
I think if you're looking for a book and you are reading summaries of plot and stuff like that are very short, just telling you, hey, this is a fantasy.
Yeah.
This is in the themes in the book, and you're okay with that, and that's enough, that's fine. But if you're worried, like, oh, this sounds like it could lean into this kind of content, then click the more button. If you add one to the app where the content is hidden a little bit.
Yeah.
I also think my biggest concern with this is that all 11 of those seem very straightforward and unarguable to me. However, you're going to have a lot of people go on here and put Harry Potter as a 4 on Witchcraft and Occult. And that's obviously not the case.
Well, here's the thing, though. Part of the reason the descriptor exists is because witchcraft / occult, for instance, like Harry Potter is about magic, and they do call it witchcraft. It's Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. But part of the reason the description exists, like the little one, is so that you can say something about like lighthearted take on children in a school of magic, no actual occult themes present.
Would the person in charge of the app be able to write that? Or is it just as some like...
His name is Clanker, and he's my AI son right now. I'm the person in charge of the app other than that.
This is a database
the user
that we're
won't
building.
be the one writing that.
So, correct. So the way that I have this, I don't...
It'll be
sounds
compiled.
Terrible. I don't trust people. And so part of the way that I want to do this is... So the first way it's stated is there's like a little AI tag for what the AI has compiled. It's looking at reviews from lots of different sites, the description of the book, like from the publisher, and a bunch of different resources. The structure is actually that it would find things even like blog posts people have written. Like it's trying to do as deep of research as possible.
Okay.
So there's a little AI tag. And then when it says verified, it means human verified. But the way that we kind of have the pipeline working right now is because I want to prevent people from like trolling it, basically, it's set up to where there has to be a certain number of people who like check a certain type of content or review content in a certain type of way. And there's still a thing that has to be approved by me or like a member of our team if we, grow that big, where the AI flags and says, hey, a lot of people said that there's this in there. And like I wanted it to be able to tell us too, like what's the tone, what's the pacing like,
pacing is huge for me.
Me too, for sure. That's one of the big ones under plot.
I know you love the Sander Lanch at the end.
I don't like fast pacing.
It takes all that I am to be like, there's stuff coming. There's content coming. It's okay.
You are like that.
I'm like, what, dude? Something just happened last chapter. There's already another thing.
My favorite is you are the one that's like, well, something's happening, but I don't even like know this person yet. What? Yeah. I don't care what happens to them. I don't know them. And I'm like, you find out who they are by how they respond to what happened. And, but again, I think that having as much information as possible is what makes it a good experience. Mm-hmm. Like, depending on how much you want to access, like how much information you want to access up front. So I don't know. So it's okay that it spoils some stuff. I mean, I think it also, I didn't really answer my own question. I think that whether or not it spoils something to read content details, I personally don't mind spoilers. So like for Project Hail Mary, they've released a couple of like scenes and little things. And Josh keeps saying, oh, don't watch them. But I'm like, I don't mind that. Like it doesn't ruin the experience for me to have experienced pieces of it in the marketing leading up. I am the person that marketing was made for, honestly. True. I'm the person in the store that will pick the cool looking thing off of the shelf just because it's the cool looking one. But I don't really care about spoilers.
That wouldn't really be a spoiler anyway. That's more like I want to experience every piece of a movie I want to love or like I'm excited about on the big screen. True. I want to experience it on my phone or on my iPad. Like I want to experience it in the theater.
I'm excited that we're like seeing the movie in IMAX, but I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference in terms of like that I've seen anything in addition.
It's a real IMAX?
For real IMAX.
Not the IMAX.
It's only like 8 years old. Like it's pretty brand new. But even with all of that, I also would say it kind of depends on the book. So like if I know that a book is like romance focused, I personally don't really care how much like witchcraft or occult stuff is in a book generally. I mean, if it's like a dark book and that's like the whole point, I probably am not going to read it. But that one for me is like less of a concern. But if it's a romance, I want to know that it's not going to have smut. If it like... there's like just certain things personally that even just seeing how high they are on the scale would tell me whether or not it's appropriate for me. I don't even need all of the details.
Yeah, if I'm reading fiction and something witchcrafty happens, it's not real.
Yeah.
Like even, I get that. Even if it's like something that's supposed to, like if I'm watching Chucky or Jennifer's Body or something that's true occult things.
Yeah, not just like fantasy.
I'm still just like the devil's not getting into me through reading it. Like, well, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not tempted into witchcraft.
Yeah.
For me, it probably depends on how it's portrayed.
Sure.
Like as I think I was in middle school, and there was a librarian that recommended a book series to me that I loved as a young kid called the Forbidden Doors series, and it was all about this girl who had problems with demons and stuff like that, and so it talked about putting on the armor of God. And like, so you have your mind shielded and stuff like, so I was like, this book is full of occult and demon stuff.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Like,
but on
good.
the rating system, it would also have religious themes that portrayed Christianity positively.
Yeah.
And so somebody who was like a witch raising their kid, like they don't want their kid to read that. So they should have access to know that theme is in their book if they don't want to read it. Like,
what about like Mistborn with the religious one? Like, with Sazed talking about all the religions of the world, would you flag that
probably
as
pretty
religious
low.
Content?
I would probably flag it
because it's informational, right? It's not the main focus of the story.
I'd flag it as like a 1 out of 4, and then the description is the important part there because it's like
books 2 and 3 are probably worse
in the it would be something about like in the context of a fantasy book with fantasy religion is discussed frequently or something like that, because I think that's part of why I wanted to have some kind of commentary, because not only can we say like it's portrayed positively or negatively, or it's this religion or that theme or whatever. On my Project Hail Mary description, religious content is marked as like a 1 out of 4. And the first thing that I said, actually, I think the AI pulled this, was the title alludes to a religious practice, but the book is not inherently religious in nature. Christianity is mentioned positively, like in passing.
It's a football play.
Exactly. Well, that's why they chose
Named
it. But
after a religious practice.
Yeah. But again, it's like if you're reading that book's title for the first time, would you know that Hail Mary doesn't necessarily in this context refer to the Catholic prayer? It refers to the football play. It's like, so it gives you that context.
Maybe there's religious undertones all throughout the book. Catholicism, the Illuminati.
Listen, maybe we are all made in the image of God, and like it or not, you can't completely divorce that from your stories, no matter how anti-God you want to try and make them. It's impossible to do it entirely. Okay, so the last question this brings me to, and this is most relevant to like, we have a publishing house. How do we want to do this? I have toyed with a couple of ideas. I want to make sure that on our website, we give content details like we would like on the app that I'm working on. I think that's an easy, obvious one. However, the question comes when you open the book, on a Kindle or physical or whatever, how much and in what context should we put content warnings before you get to the content of the book? Like, I thought about, do we do a QR code and that leads you to the section of that book, because that's kind of annoying. Like, that's just such an extra part of the process. Do we actually put stuff on page? Do we put it upside down on the page and clarify? Like, what's the right way to present that information?
I have 2 thoughts on that. One, the people who don't have the internet are going to be the ones who probably want content warnings more than anyone else.
That don't have the internet?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
I feel like that is probably a big overlap of people. The ones who don't have social media and don't want to download a reading app, they're the ones who probably care the most about violence and sexual nature.
Interesting way to look at that. Okay.
So maybe not the QR code thing. I think if we do it, it should probably be printed in there. But also, I was thinking like, take whatever's on the app and then but then it kind of has to be out for a little while to truly get that content warning, or content details.
Well, if it's the stuff we're writing,
solidified.
I would feel confident writing the content details for that book, right? Like, I feel like I could do that.
For sure.
I mean, we're going to go through the developmental and copy.
Sure.
Online,
so
yeah.
You can put them in the back of the book.
You could put them in the back. The reason I say text upside down is that I have Bookstagram, Book Talk, whatever. And so the middle ground I found is that for spice ratings and then LGBT representation, which were honestly the 2 things, I put them in my reviews because they're the 2 things that most people ask me about in person when they want to know if like a book is appropriate for them. And the funny part is some people that ask me that ask because they like want it or they don't want it. And I'm like, I'll give you the information again, whatever. But on those 2, if I have a major rating on either of those, I have a slide where the text is upside down and you physically have to turn the book up or the phone or whatever you're looking at upside down to see the actual spoiler. And so on in normal text right side up, it says details on the sexual content, will contain spoilers or something like that. And then you have to turn it upside down. So I'm even thinking is that a good option? That way, if people care enough to look for spoilers, they'll turn the book upside down. If not, it's not easy to read until you do that. I don't know.
I like the idea of a QR code in the front and then content warnings in the back. And so you can say, scan the QR code for content ratings. And then if you don't want to go online, they're in the back of the book.
Yeah, it is. It's hard because what you said, I've not thought about that, but there are a lot of people who are not super connected in that way that probably would want to know this stuff. And so I'm like, do I need to include as much information about our books as I would on the app or like even on the webpage? Because people that want to know, like, won't they go looking for it? But maybe those are the people that won't go looking for it. So I just don't. Yeah,
you just
I
have to
landed.
Start circulating books in the Amish community and to have this problem.
That's it. That's our demographic, I think.
Also known as Seth's Indiana family.
I tell you what, there will be a lot of my older like people I know from church that will buy my book, and we should tell them some of the things. Like, obviously, it's not smut, but like there's going to be some pretty gory violence, and there are sexual situations. I like the way they worded that earlier. I was like, that's probably the best way to describe my book. There's no sex scenes, but like
sexual situations.
There are some very dark sexual situations of like higher up people. That I think people need to be warned about.
Yeah,
Twilight, vampire-esque.
That's right.
Lots of romance.
I think on that note, I'm going to say we're at the end of our episode. If you have not liked and subscribed, then are you even a fan? And our backer kit launches soon. So if you want to know more about how to support the publishing house, you should go check the description of this video because it'll have the latest info. And until next time, stay based and read better.
And let us hear your roar.
No, that is not the name of the podcast. It will never be the name of this podcast.